right? Mozilla, who was a free speech advocate, free internet, non-censorship, anti-big tech, quote unquote, they have now turned to be just as authoritarian, just as despotic, just as censorious as any other big tech company that's out right now. They put out a blog on January 8th. This is the Mozilla website, saying that there is no question that social media played a role in the siege takeover in the U.S. Capitol on January 6th. The title is "We Need More Than Deplatforming." And basically, they're advocating for the deplatforming of anybody they deem unworthy or unappealing, anyone they deem to be problematic. They said, and it continues, it says, since there is a significant focus on deplatforming of Donald Trump, and I'm going to do a video on that as well, but the deplatforming of Donald Trump, by all means, the question of when to deplatforming a head of state is a critical one among many that must be addressed. When should platforms make these decisions? Is that decision making power theirs alone? But I mean, in actuality, all they're doing is advocating for the deplatforming of people that they deem to be an issue, deplatforming of people they deem to not have the right politics at the time. This is from Gizmodo, just basically going over the same thing of it's not just okay to deplatforming bigots, but the problem is, when does it turn into deplatforming bigots and just deplatforming people that disagree with you? Which is what it seems to be going right now with the concession, I guess you can say, of Donald Trump. They have gone full, and by I mean the big tech companies and the leftists that are pretending to be leftists on Twitter, who actually don't stand for liberty or care about any principle matter. They just want to see their tribe win. They're right now using Trump losing the election, or officially losing the election, as a means to go after anybody that supported him, anybody that anybody that disagrees with them. So even if you are a individual who is a moderate or is someone who does not necessarily advocate for the same things they do, they will lump you in together with people they deem to be on the fringe, which is basically anybody left of center. Anyone they deem to be fringe, and they will ouster you as well. And we've seen with the recent calls to get rid of platforms such as Parler, and I'm assuming that BitChute and things will be next, whereas Amazon, who decided to cut off Parler's web services, and the Google Play Store and Apple Store are also taking Parler off their app store, citing violence citing that there has been calls to violence on the platform, while their beloved Twitter is also has the same issues, which is another thing, rules for me but not for thee, because I like this platform, or I'm on this platform, and the people I like are on this platform, or I deem worthy to have their speech heard, or on this platform. This other platform, and this other platform by I mean Twitter, does not have to follow the same rules as they are claiming Parler has to follow. But they're using the events on Capitol Hill, which the Capitol Hill event really wasn't all that insane, especially if you were paying attention to what was going on the months leading up in the riots and the small businesses and things of that nature that got destroyed. And when people called that out, they were told to shut up, and that the people being upset, the people that were destroying said small businesses, were the unheard and the individuals who needed to be able to voice or let loose their frustrations because they weren't being heard. So they had to do it in a physical way. So destroying your neighborhoods and destroying other minority businesses was the tactic, apparently. But this just shows how far Mozilla has fallen, and this isn't new. I don't know if a lot of you don't know, but Mozilla has been making calls for this to happen for quite some time they've been inching towards rhetoric such as this. The chairwoman calls for more ad spending transparency over after 4 years of disinformation campaign. Now, again, they only care about the misinformation or the deemed quote unquote misinformation coming from the right, but they don't care about the left, who controls most of the cultural institutions, the media apparatus, and things of that nature, because they themselves align with the left. So their worldview is infallible. Their worldview is the correct worldview, and they get to deem who and what and where people can talk. And this is the original tweet, linking to the blog, because they tweeted out this basically that they need to do this, and all these media companies are following suit. Sorry. So what I suggest for everybody is you're going to have to create your own platforms. And I know how much as Tim Pool and whatnot is scared of the divergence of the split between the economic and communication apparatus. At this stage, you're going to have to essentially upend and compete with these major corporations. So people are going to have to create new payment processors, possibly, depending on how bad it gets, even banks. So we're talking banks, payment processors, web hosting companies, fundraising companies, social media networks. All these things will have to continue to flourish. I mean, as you've seen with Parler, the reason why they went after Parler is because after Twitter decided to mass ban, or it seems to purge the mass amount of people it did, and it seems like some people just left on their own accord. When that happened, they realized that, or not realized, because they've known for a few months now that Parler was probably going to be an issue. They decided to try to nuke the platform and the website, as they say that you should create your own alternatives and go to a different site or create your own thing. They will then turn around and destroy the thing you created. So you're going to have a situation where people have essentially no reliance on these corporations and take the power away from them bit by bit. I don't believe this will cause some social upheaval or civil war, to be quite honest with you. I don't believe the American people will actually be, let's just say, not motivated, but that fed up that they'll go to blows. Communication and fifth generation warfare. Yeah, I can see that happening. Competing propaganda from both sides, I can see that happening. I mean, that's already happening to a degree. It's just that the left controls most of the institutions, so their propaganda is particularly winning at the moment. But yeah, so I suggest, if you have the skills such as myself, I will be trying to help create said alternatives instead of just complaining on the internet. I think it's time, and a lot of us, I guess, have realized that, the next that will come is not just the right and the Trump supporters and things of that nature. The next people that are going to come for the middle, the moderates, the individuals like myself, the centrists. And what I mean by the centrists is not fence sitters, but individuals who hear both sides and have staunch opinions on where to go forward after listening from both sides, which is where I lean, which is why I call myself more of a centrist or a center-left leaning individual. But we're going to have to create said alternatives for all the institutions, media, art, music. You're going to have to start creating said alternatives and starting to take away the power that these big corporations have. So, as we see, Mozilla fallen far from where they were, And I found out the guy who created Mozilla, he ended up making the Brave browser. And if you aren't using Brave, you should use Brave. Brave is probably Brave and Tor are probably the two best alternatives at the moment. And there are more alternatives, browser alternatives, but you're going to have to start using said alternatives or creating said alternatives. But anyway, thank you. Thank you guys for listening. And I appreciate we'll get through this. And my phone keeps going off. I mean, every time I start recording, put this on vibrate. But yeah, we're going to need said alternatives and it'll be fine. You know, right now the left is going crazy because they've essentially have control of all the institutions and possibly will pack the courts in order to have the judging disparity within the Supreme Court and the lower courts as well. So, hey man, there'll be a better tomorrow, and I think we'll get through this without a huge divide and split. I think right now things are pretty heated, or to say the least. But I think after everybody kind of gets their head on their shoulders, and then what I mean by gets their head on their shoulders is the right and the moderates and the left-leaning individuals that were ousted from the left, when they get their bearings, they'll move forward. And like I said, you're going to have to create the alternatives and convince people through creation of these alternatives that what you're seeing here is not okay. All right, guys. Have a great day wherever you're at. And I have a BitChute, and the link will be in the description. Wow. Terrible at talking right now, but the link will be in oh my god, the link will be in the description and to my BitChute. So if you guys want to follow me, you can, as well as I'll have the link. If you're still on Twitter, I'll still use that, at least as this way you can communicate with me. But probably will start backing away from most of these sites as well, and getting myself, on multiple other platforms and whatnot. All right. See you guys. Thank you. Bye.